Welcome back to Inspiring Possibilities, the courage to jump in. I'm your host, Michelle Cameron Coulter, Olympic gold medalist, author, and lifelong student of how to navigate the beautiful, messy, extraordinary thing we call life. Today's episode is truly a treat. While I was in Boston, I had the absolute joy of sitting inside Dr. Ellen Langer's Harvard office. Yes, the Mother of Mindfulness, where we laughed, explored, and uncovered some of the most refreshing insights on presence, relationship, and being fully alive. If you've heard her on Mel Robbins or seen her on her work on Rich Roll, Huberman Lab, and the Happiness Lab, you already know she's brilliant. In this conversation, you'll get to experience her playful, curious, wonderfully unfiltered side, the Ellen most people never get to hear. You'll hear hints of something very special that I'm honored to be creating together, a first ever intimate couples retreat in Mexico. I'll share more at the end, and that brings an added spark to everything we talk about today. So take a breath, settle in, maybe even smile. You're about to hear something truly special. Let's jump in. Yes, so I'm so excited, actually honored and thrilled to be here with the one and only Dr. Ellen Langer, who is the mother of mindfulness. Like, I think we're getting more into mindfulness, but that you were so far ahead of the curve.
Well, I've been studying it for for 50 years.
Yes, and I'm honored to be in your office in Harvard right now. You were the first tenured female psychologist at Harvard. You're
I
too
was.
young to be that.
I started when I was 12.
I think so. And she's way taller than me, by the way.
I'm sitting on a phone book as a child would because she's so tall. But
Okay. Yeah, so
anyway,
good. So now we wanted to talk about, because you are doing, and I'm honored to be co-hosting with you, a couples retreat in Mexico. And I want to talk about that because people have been asking, they're going, what? Dr. Langer's going to do a
no.
retreat? And so what brought this about?
Well, it's interesting, Michelle. When I give lectures, I have a slide, and the slide says virtually all of our problems. Excuse me. Slide says virtually all of our problems, personal, professional, global, all of our problems are the direct or indirect effect of our mindlessness. And then because I say when I write something, since I'm an academic, I have to change it a little bit. So I say virtually, but I deeply believe all of our problems. And so, with that understanding, fixing small marital conflicts or marital conflicts seem to be very small when compared to the global problems that many people experience. And I do believe it's simple. And
Mhm.
that's a very big statement, you know. Now, um, I think that when people think of mindfulness, first of all, they tend to think of meditation.
Mhm.
The work I did early research on meditation. Mindfulness, as I study it, has nothing to do with meditation. It's a
Mm.
simple process of noticing. And the
Mm.
problem is, all of us are taught by our parents in schools to think we know.
Mm.
And as soon as you think you know, you stop paying any attention. And
Mm.
so mindlessness is pervasive. And I have, 45 years of hard research showing that the very simple set of changes, when people become more mindful, not only are they happier, more alert, they live longer,
Mhm.
they're seen as charismatic, um, you know, 40 years is a long time, so many dependent measures we could put in there, and one after the other reveals the effectiveness of this very simple change. And I think that, most people in relationships, when people are together, even 15 years, maybe even fewer, and you listen to them argue, at some point they could just throw numbers at each other 22, 16, 12, because they say the same things over and over again.
Yes.
And so once you recognize that it's the same issues over and over
Mhm.
again, correcting them is easier than I think most people think.
Well, and you hit something so big. You said on a global scale, but honestly, like if we have healthy relationships in our home, that trickles to everywhere else and it
Oh,
kind of
sure.
starts there. And it's so easy. I get it because I definitely experience that to be mindless and just kind of take for granted.
Yeah.
And I think human nature, and we talked about this before, is to be seen, heard, and know that it even matters that we're there. And when you become like just kind of complacent almost.
Yeah, well, this simple process of active noticing, so you can be actively noticing and not speaking,
Mm-hmm.
but you're present.
Mm-hmm.
People very sweetly say be in the moment, and that's nice, but it's an empty instruction. It's empty because when you're not there to know you're not there.
Mm.
And the way to be there is the simple process of noticing. And that's what part of the retreat will focus on. It's also the case that um, you're mindful when you're enjoying yourself.
Mm,
Robots aren't happy. Robots can't have good relationships, yet most of us move throughout the day as if we're robots.
mm,
And so to enjoy yourself is not a sidebar where it is in many things you go to. Here's the main event, even in school, right? Starting in elementary school, you have here's content you're going to learn, and then because it's so hard, presumably,
hmm.
then you have a play period. And
Recoup.
and people need to understand how they need to integrate their life and their work. So, years ago, people spent all their time working, and then somebody, whoever it is, came along and said, "No, you need work-life balance." Oh, when I heard that, I disagree with almost everything that's out
I
there.
love it.
And so people should read, because this retreat is expensive,
Hmm.
and they should read some of my work to make sure that it meets some of their needs and they can understand it because it does go against almost everything you've been taught. Work-life integration, work-life balance is foolish. What that suggests is that work has to be stressful.
Mm, yeah.
Nothing has to be stressful. But the going understanding is to balance all this stress at work, you need to have some time to play. I believe you should be the same person whether you're working or playing.
Hmm.
You should learn how to play seriously, so that you can win, swim the way you swim and become a champion. Play serious tennis the way I do, even though I'm an intermediate player. And then still recognize it's only a game.
Well,
And even if it's your work in some sense, you should treat it as a game.
well, oh, I love that so much because when you share that, like I've got four kids that all play volleyball, and the thing that I say to them is like, honestly, the more fun they have, the better they do. Like
Sure,
there's a magic that
exactly.
happens, and we take it so serious. There are serious moments for
Yeah,
sure, but how you incorporate that
yeah.
in a daily
Well,
way.
for most things that we do, whether it's our work, sports, or interpersonal relating, our mindlessness gets in the way, and
Mm,
we're oblivious to how often that occurs. Um, so people don't understand that when you're at play, you're actively noticing. When you're actively noticing, the neurons are firing, and all this research I keep talking
mhm.
about suggests very clearly, strongly, that that's literally and figuratively enlivening. So you want to get as far away from being a robot as you can.
That sounds
And
so good.
yeah, and but it should be fun.
Yeah.
And so everything that happens at the retreat will be fun. Um, it's also the case, and this is a new thing that I'm interested in. Now that I've helped make the world more mindful, at least
Mhm.
realize the importance of such, um, I want to take the world that's vertical, where people who have a lot of money or status, are at the top, and make it horizontal.
Mhm.
And in doing so, to teach that everybody doesn't know something, everybody knows something else, everybody can't do something, everyone can do something else. And half of the battles in relationships are about who's better at whatever it is, somebody feeling less than. And also, another important principle that sounds so simple, and we don't have time now for me to explain how enormous this is that people's behavior makes sense,
Mhm.
or else they wouldn't do it.
True.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Today I'm going to be greedy, impulsive, obnoxious." And so, whatever you're calling your spouse, you're looking at them from a perspective that's very different from what's operating that's leading them to that
Mm,
behavior. So, for example, let's say you and I are in an intimate relationship and you see me as gullible, and I am. However, the reason I'm gullible is because I'm trusting.
mm,
I see you, you're so damn inconsistent. You are, and that's because you're flexible. So to
mm.
understand that we don't want to teach people, which I would assume you get from most therapists, you might even get it at other retreats, to accept this negative thing about yourself or about the other person.
Mm.
You don't want to accept it. You don't want to deny it. You want to understand the positive version of it.
To understand where
So,
it's coming
yeah,
from
so
instead of,
I am very happy that I'm trusting,
hmm,
and when I realize that that's sometimes going to make me gullible, well, so be it. I imagine you value um, being flexible,
100%.
which is often going to make you seem inconsistent.
Mm,
And it's some of these things that we do that get on each other's nerves are
mm,
not so easy to unpack. But I think in an environment where we make it a game, that it'll be easier for people to search their souls, to enjoy things with their spouse,
to lighten
and
the load of it
like
because,
and not just
yes,
yeah, lighten
yeah,
the load, but lighten everything.
yeah.
I think it's good to take what you do on occasion seriously,
Mhm,
but it's not good to take yourselves too seriously.
mhm,
And I would imagine with the people who are going to be able to afford this, they oftentimes are taking themselves too seriously
mm,
because these are going to be people who are accomplished.
mm,
And it's very hard to see people who are doing the same sorts of things you're doing, but
mhm,
not quite accomplished. It's hard not to see them as less than.
mm,
And that's what we're going to turn inside out, upside down, and just
mm.
have fun doing it in a beautiful
It's
environment.
going to be
Yeah.
amazing. And the shifts. I am so excited about it and the trans and there's a lot of unknowns in it, which is
Yeah.
actually really good. And I was just thinking right now, listening to you too, like probably one of the most famous studies that you did was the reverse clock
Yeah, the
study. When you
counter.
look at when the
Yeah.
counter clock, when we get in an environment, change our environment, shake things up a little bit, like amazing things can
Well, let me
happen.
let me tell you
Yes.
the because people, not
Yeah.
everybody knows the
Yes, I
counter
know.
clock.
So that's why I was hoping you'd
So,
dive
yeah.
in.
So, I had an idea many, many years ago, back in the early 70s, about the problems with seeing mind and body as separate. And now anybody who's walked down the street, any place in the fall, and a leaf blows in your face, all of a sudden you're startled, your blood pressure and pulse increase. So clearly nothing happened to you,
Hmm.
but you realize it was just a leaf, yet you had a physical change. Everybody knows the mind and body are connected.
Hmm.
So that led people to talk about mind-body connection. I say, no, it's not mind-body connection. It's mind-body unity. If you
Mm.
understand, these are just words, mind and body, but if we put them back together as one unit, then wherever we put the mind, we're necessarily putting the body. The first test of this was where we retrofitted a retreat to be 20 years earlier and had elderly men live there as if they were their younger selves. So their minds go back in time. As a result, they're there for less than a full week. Their vision improved, their hearing improved, their strength, their memory, and they look noticeably younger. Now, I have many, many studies, and the studies have informed my views about how to stay healthy in ways that don't involve the medical world and also are not at odds with the medical world.
Mm.
But I'm sure that in the few days that we're together with everybody, we'll have a chance to talk about all of this.
So good.
And so when people are happier, they're going to be healthier. When you're healthier, you're going to be happier. And imagine how hard it is to take care of a spouse who's not healthy. So it's everything is related, but there will be work showing people or time talking to people about some very simple things, not diet, not exercise,
So good.
very simple things, changes in your mind. that will result in a healthier life as well.
So phenomenal. Like I said, I'm so excited. And the other thing I was talking about the other day is I remember one of our first conversations, and one of the things that you shared, and I totally believe that too, like that connection when we talk about the most potent medicine on the market or drug is the placebo, because the impact, if you
Sure.
could take that, the impact of that.
Well, what people need to understand, first of all, people are oblivious to how often they themselves are giving placebos.
Mm,
But that being that put aside for the moment, that when you take a placebo, you're taking nothing.
mhm,
By definition, the pill is inert, a sugar pill, whatever it's made up of. So you take this nothing, you think it's something, and then magically you heal. And so the point is that in all of these study after study over decades now of the effectiveness of placebos, it's not the placebo.
mm.
So who is it? So you're doing it for yourself. And so my work has largely been devoted to finding ways to do this more directly, leave the doctor out, leave the little pill out, and just make it all happen.
Increasing, massively increasing quality of life,
No.
of joy, of fun, of presence, of like truly being in
Yeah,
ourselves.
no, I think that it's hard for people who don't know any of this work to get a real sense of how extensive the findings are. We've made people more mindful, they live longer. We've done that in many studies.
Mhm.
We have a study to go back to the mind-body unity. That's kind of amazing, uh, where we teach women who are chambermaids. So these are chambermaids exercising all day long. They don't realize that they're exercising because they think exercise is what you do after work. And after work, they're just too tired. Right. So we teach them that their work is exercise. Making beds is like working at this machine at the gym and so on. So we have two simple groups. One now knows their work is exercise. The other doesn't realize their work is exercise. They are eating the same, they're working just as hard. Nevertheless, the simple change in their minds resulted in weight loss, a change in waist to hip ratio, body mass index, and their blood pressure came down just by
Amazing.
changing their minds. Yeah. No, it's almost magic, um, but it's real.
So
Um,
and we're just touching on the surface of what we
yeah.
get to do in those 4 days
Yeah.
in Mexico. And so if anybody listening to, if you want to go and dive into more to find out more about Dr. Ellen Langer, and listen, you were just on the Mel Robbins podcast.
Oh, yes. If you Google my name and
Yeah.
podcast, Andrew Huberman,
And
Rich Roll, Deepak Chopra, all of them come up. That's one way. And if you can take a look at any of my books, you find lots of these studies. And I'm very proud of that work
so
because I've been fighting it, as academics do. It's not a fighting, but with the medical world for decades. And at this point now, they're
they're getting it.
almost
There's
completely
shit coming.
brought over. Yeah, so that's very nice. And one of the important things, and you get a lot of this at the retreat, because I can't help but talk about it, is stress. Now,
Mm,
people assume, you ask anybody, almost anybody except me or my students, they'll say, you have to, everybody is stressed. Well, I'm not stressed. You don't have to be stressed. Work doesn't have to be stressful. Relationships certainly shouldn't be stressful. And so there are many things that are original things that I think that I have to say about stress. Let me give one freebie, if we call it such. Um, Next time you're stressed, ask yourself, is it a tragedy or an inconvenience? It's almost never a tragedy, right? I burnt the roast, I banged the car, I missed the appointment. So what? And just taking a second out and saying, you know, is the world going to end because I did this thing? Or if this thing happens, will my world end? And you realize, no, you're just caught up in it. But there are ways to do this. And again, they're not hard. If you listen to all of my podcasts, chances are you'll hear me at some point describing most of this.
So good.
I just talk when I'm asked, as you can see here. So I couldn't tell you which podcast to go
No,
to for which information.
priceless, all of them priceless. And the last one I'll say, I think one of the biggest things for sure is that shift in perspective and shift in thinking. And one of the very first things that you had said to me, I'm like, I kind of did this, was 1 + 1.
Oh, yeah. So
Like
when I
that blew
try
me
to
away.
explain to people
Mhm,
that virtually all of us are mindless all of the time,
mhm,
I use the example that Michelle is talking about, where one of the things, the thing everybody thinks they know, and remember, my
mhm,
argument is that there are no absolutes. Even the word, the statement, there are no absolutes, has to be questioned. All right. How much is 1 + 1? And people at that point, oh, just 1 + 1.
mhm.
But it's not always two. First of all, if you want to get sophisticated, 1 + 1 is 2 if you're using a base 10 number system. I'm doing this to show you how smart I am. If you're using a base 2 number system, 1 + 1 is written as 10, but who cares about a number system? If you add one pile of laundry and one pile of laundry, 1 + 1 is 1. You add one cloud plus one cloud, 1 + 1 is 1. You add 1 watt of chewing gum to 1 watt of chewing gum, 1 + 1 is 1. And in the real world, then, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, as or more often as it does. And so think about all the things you're sure of, because all of those things you're responding to mindlessly, even the most basic 1 + 1. But we'll go over all of this. And, the reason that I'm doing it as a retreat rather than a one-day lecture is so people can ask their specific questions and get their individual needs met.
Yeah, and experience it. It's not
Yeah.
just sitting and listening, but you actually get to experience it in an environment
All right.
that is like a beautiful environment to do that in, and have a
Yeah.
lot of what I like to call FU and
Yeah. Well, it's also the case that
Mhm,
once people come to the retreat, we'll establish a certain relationship, and there is a way I will be available to them
mhm.
going forward.
So that's huge. So, and it's very exclusive. There's only 8 couples, so it's very
Uh,
intimate. It's not like you're with a whole bunch of people. So if this is resonating with you and you want to reach out for more information, we'll have that available. But it's just an honor to be here with you,
Thank you.
Dr. Ellen and Langer. She said, I don't like to be Dr. Ellen, right?
Yeah, no, it's like Dr. Ruth. No, she was a fine person.
Yes, but it's like Miss Ellen Langer, Professor Ellen Langer. What's the best way to say?
I don't know. You don't have to call me by any name. Hey, you.
I love her.
And
Yes. And so, yeah, we'll have the information. And thank you. Is there anything else that you want to share before we say look forward to seeing you?
no, this was fun.
This was fun.
Okay.
We like to have fun. All right. Thank you. And we look forward to being in touch. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing this insightful and powerful conversation with Dr. Ellen Langer. I hope something in it opened up a spark for you, a little shift, a softening, or even just a moment of, wow, I really need to hear that today. And if you felt that whisper of, this is what we've been looking for, I invite you to explore the first of its kind intimate couples experience. I'm honored to be co-hosting with Dr. Langer, an extraordinary retreat in Mexico. We're welcoming only 8 couples, and you'll find all the details in the show notes. I'm grateful that you're here, and until next time, keep noticing the little moments, keep breathing, and keep jumping in.